Hello, my name's Galena. I'm the fiancé of Joshua Lee McCollister, who was murdered on July 8th by Deunn Willis and robbed by Danielle Durand. I was thinking a lot about a friend of mine in Fort Bragg tonight. There's very few people that actually saw me and Josh together as a couple because the stalking was so bad. We didn't get to go out and do things like go to the beach or hang out in public. If we were together, we were usually behind closed doors. But she saw us together a couple times. She was always so kind. And when Josh died, she called me on Skype and she was sobbing. That meant a lot to me because when Josh and I became a couple, so many people amongst my friends list, which is granted not that many because I'm a shy person, but they acted like we were never going to last. You know, we were not right for each other at all. And I used to say to Josh, and he'd say to me, they'll never understand us as a couple. They'll never get it. We were so right for each other. We had so much in common. Like people didn't see it because they just didn't know my backstory or know his backstory. We had so much in common underneath the surface, though. We complemented each other so well. But this person, she really saw how good we were together, and she said to me once that we were a real power couple. That was not a compliment that I ever thought that I would hear. I don't see myself as a powerful person. I'm really not. I'm stubborn. That's about it. But I will say that Josh made me so much more powerful than I would have been without him. You know, everything regarding my father, I could never have done it without him. You know, he was always there behind the scenes the entire time. Everything was going viral. He was taking care of me every day behind the scenes, making sure I had everything I needed to keep going forward. You know, there's a lot of men out there that don't like a woman who's a leader. They can't take directions from a woman. They'll even sabotage that woman. That wasn't him at all. He did not want his name out there. He did not want his picture out there. He just wanted to help, and he wanted to help make sure I had what I needed to fight the good fight. You know, the year before Josh came to Fort Bragg, it was one of the worst years of my life. It was scary. It was violent. It was horrible because the instigator had become a major methamphetamines addict. And I was trying to get out. And there were a number of instances I just didn't think I was gonna survive this. I had this dream one night. It was horrific, and it was so realistic. It was me foreseeing how I was gonna die, how he was gonna kill me. And I just couldn't see any way out of it when I woke up, that this was just such a realistic thing. And no one would help me. I didn't give myself long. I really didn't. You know, it's the sort of thing that people say, you know, don't talk that way. They don't want to hear it. When you're that afraid that you're going to die, they don't want to hear it. They get mad at you if you try to talk about it, so I just didn't. But I didn't give myself long. I had a very specific time frame that I gave myself. And then Josh McCollister moved to Fort Bragg, I really want his mom and his dad to have this. This is important to me that they have this on tape. That timeline of my survival, it was like a wall that Josh was up against, and he just punched it down. I know I didn't have long. All that violence, he stopped it. He saved my life. He absolutely saved my life. I mean, in a very literal and physical sense, Josh saved my life. You know, before Josh got there, there were 5 people in my family. Years ago, Josh saved my husband's life. You know? Very literally saved his life. Like, this isn't like, well, maybe he gave him a pat on the back when he was depressed. No, he was gonna die, and Josh saved his life. And then he saved my life. And then he saved my little boy's life. My little boy almost died one afternoon, and he would have died if not for Josh. 5 people. Josh saved 3 of us from dying. You know, in terms of like, we were a power couple. I think of us versus Deunn Willis and Danielle Durand, because we're both couples, and they were a force for death and destruction. I like to think that Josh and I, doing everything we did, maybe we were a force for life. Because I tell you, I tell this to everybody, but definitely mostly to his parents, if there is so much as one girl who winds up being brought back, missing and murdered girls, none of it would have happened without Josh McCollister. I would not have been able to do it without Josh. Everything I did is only because he was there. Not just because he saved my life, but because he took care of me while I was doing all of that. You know, there's people that are grouchy that I'm doing these videos focusing on him. And I can say again and again, well, if I don't do it, who's gonna? The newspapers up in Humboldt County didn't even get a photograph of Josh. They didn't even bother. That was me. That was me that made sure those newspapers saw what he looked like. It's me that's still going to fight for him to get justice up there. And what I'd say on that note also is, if you ever have a loved one murdered, the advice I would give, do this. And I don't mean like necessarily do videos every day. I mean, be a pain in the media's ass. Pardon my language. Be a pain in the ass of everyone with power, because they will let this stuff get swept under the rug. You have to just buckle down and say, no. That's not happening to the one I love. Hell no. You fight, and you don't stop fighting, and you fight more and more and more and more. That's my advice. That's the only thing that I have come to learn actually works. To that friend of ours in Fort Bragg, it meant so much to me to see you crying for Josh, because so few people got to actually know who Josh was. He let so few people see him. He let so few people see that loving heart of his, because, you know, when you're autistic, you mask constantly. He was always masking. He was always trying to make people happy. But he didn't know how to let people see the real him because, you know, I think a lot of autistics have a lot of hard time with that. But this person was such a beautiful person. She actually got to just see who he really was, know him for the good-hearted person he was. And that's why she was crying to find out that he had been shot. So thank you for those tears, and thank you for being someone that we could actually show how much we loved each other in front of. It meant so much to me, and it meant so much to him. To all those people also who were just like always trash talking him. You know, one of the things that they said is that he was bad for the kids. To those people that were saying that, I wonder how many children's lives they've saved. Because my son would not be alive today if it wasn't for Josh McCollister. I doubt any of those people, those drug addicts, those dealers that the instigator had sicked on us, I doubt that they can say that they did what Josh did.